Good morning. I am so excited today because I get to introduce you to one of my friends and mindset coach. Yes, y'all, you know how much mindset matters. It matters to me. It should matter to you. And at a time where things feel a little bit off, awkward, we all need something like this in our life. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend. And I wanted to give you a glimpse into what it's like to work with Brad because he is so special to me. And so I recorded something that I wanted you to see. Brad Bizjack, live in person. Well, we're over Zoom, but welcome. Tell us a little bit about you, Brad.
What's going on, my friend? I'm super excited to be here. I can't wait to serve your audience and add some tremendous value. Well, my name's Brad. So nice to meet our listeners. I'm a certified high performance coach. So my specialty is really bringing out the very best in people, owning what they are worth, and helping people to take what they really care about and turn it into more income and more impact in the world. And so that's what we're really about. And it stems from this whole idea of where I began, which is not feeling like I was worthy of more. And once I overcame that, I realized, wow, I have a gift that I need to share with people. And that's kind of why we're here today.
I love that. And I know my audience, we all struggle with enoughness and worthiness because I don't know about you, but I, at some point in my life, I mean, you go to college and they give you like a certificate. I feel like that's like you are now valuable in some way, shape, or form, which is actually a misnomer. It doesn't matter how many certificates you get. I have several. They don't actually mean anything. It's what you do with it and how confident you are in your abilities. And, most of the people that listen to this think they don't have the right skills, enough experience. How do you get past something like that, Brad? What are your opinions on that?
Well, I have a belief that success comes from good judgment, and good judgment comes from experience, and typically experience comes from bad judgment. And so, what we need to do is we need to make mistakes and learn and grow. But what most people make the mistake of doing is they think that they need to graduate in order to get to a place where they can learn a certain qualification. It's like we need to get qualified to get qualified. That's not how it works. And really, what people are facing is just fear. And so, if we're afraid that there's more out there for us or that we're worthy of more, what typically happens is we'll mask our fear, which is just, I'm afraid that I'm going to fail, or I'm afraid that I'm going to be successful. We'll mask that with this whole idea of, I need to make sure I'm qualified. I couldn't qualify for that. I'm not enough for that role, right? And we make sure that we're qualified for it, when really all qualifications do is all you're trying to do through qualifications is give yourself permission to take a leap of faith. That's all you're trying to do through qualifications. And so, for example, I own a coaching business, and I did not have my first certification until 3.5 years after I started it. And the reason is and it was already super successful before I did that. The only reason I got the qualification was because I liked the education style and I wanted to continue my education. But what most people do is they use a qualification or a certain type of education or whatever it is as the reason as to why they can't claim more. And when they do that, really what it's saying is, I'm afraid of seeing what the next level of me looks like.
Oh my God, so true. Amen. Can I get an amen?
Anyway, and that's what most people do. And so really, we just need to call it for what it is. Let's let go of this whole idea of, I need to be more qualified. Let's let go of this idea that we need to have more education. We're just afraid. That's all that's really going on. And fear is normal. Fear is biological. Like if you think about it, this thing, your brain is 2 million years old, and you weren't worried 2 million years ago about getting another job. You weren't worried about getting a pay raise. You were worried about the saber-toothed tiger that was hiding in the bushes that was going to eat your children. That's what you were worried about 2 million years ago. We don't have the same threats, but we do have the same mind. And so we link up getting promoted or getting another job or getting a pay raise or doubling your income with the same amount of emotional intensity as a tiger attack. And
Mhm.
so if we go into it with the same fear as a tiger attack, no wonder we want to hold back. No wonder we want to stay safe. And so what we need to do is recondition that, because what we're doing is we're linking success to pain. And when you link success to pain, you're not going to want to go anywhere. What I always see is people say, well, I want to be successful, but I also don't want to be rejected. Well, in order to become successful, you need to become rejected. And as human beings, everything we do is driven by our need to avoid pain or gain pleasure. And so most people do more to avoid pain, right? Most people would rather do more to prevent $50,000 from getting stolen from them than make $50,000. And so when it comes to getting another job or getting a pay raise or whatever it is, we link up. Yeah, I want success, but I really don't want to fail. I
Oh, yeah.
really don't want to be less than. I really don't want to get rejected from this. And
Mhm.
really, all of this comes down to feeling like you are worthy of what's next. I can go into that more in a second, but what are your thoughts on that before I keep going?
I love this because it's true. In fact, I tell my students all the time that if you are not getting some form of rejection letter, you're not putting yourself out there enough.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, think about you and I run businesses, and
Mhm.
on social media, I'm sure you got some haters. I know I do. Uh,
One or two. They follow me around a lot.
well, and there's this great thing called block and also delete that I just love. I love both of those buttons. But I actually personally love when somebody starts attacking because I feel like I've clearly hit a nerve for them. And so there's something there. So I feel like it's a great guidepost of like, I need to lean more into this. Now, I still delete the comment, but I feel like if we're not somehow getting rejected, then how do we even know what direction we're supposed to go? And I have a personal opinion on the definition fail. Like, so if you look at the definition of fail in the dictionary, pick a dictionary, doesn't matter which one. One of the definitions, like most words, there's like 3 or 4 definitions. One of them is actually the absence of. So it means like you are not doing something. I failed to do the thing. And so that's where I hang my hat on failure is if you are still in the game, then there is no failure. It's just learning opportunities of not that direction. Okay, I'm going to go over here, but you're not stopping. I never want to say personally, I failed to show up. I failed to attempt that thing. Now, I know that we have gotten very real and we're about to go a little bit deeper. So if this gets triggering for you, I am sorry, not sorry. I'm about to share is something that really, really floored me. And it's something I firmly believe in as well. So let's take a look.
I think what oftentimes happens when it comes to just any endeavor of success, what we oftentimes do is attach a pain and a fear to it of, this is going to mean something negative, or this is not going to work out in my favor. And there's a reason for that. And it's because everything that we do in life will create some sort of fear within us. Now, what most achievers say is, I'm stressed, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm exhausted, when really all that means is I'm scared.
Yes.
In fact,
Yeah.
if I follow the trail of your stress, I'll find what you're actually afraid of. And what everyone's actually afraid of is that they're not enough. And if they're not enough, we won't be loved. That's what you're actually afraid of. And so when it comes to getting another job, if you just say, okay, I'm just afraid that I'm not enough and I won't be loved, then you realize, wow, that's stupid. I'm already enough. I'm already loved. And so it's normal because this is actually biological. If you think about it, as babies, if babies aren't given physical love when they're born, they will die. It's
Mhm.
called failure to thrive. And so we need love. And so if we are putting ourselves in situations where love could be withheld, then we feel like that's a threat on our life.
Mhm.
But when we realize we're always going to be loved, we'll always be enough, then that threat starts to dissipate. And so all of this can be linked down to this idea of worthiness, this idea of self-worth. Am I enough for that job? Am I enough for more money? Am I enough for more pay? Whatever it is, am I enough for that promotion? And if you think about feeling like you are enough, If that is a common fear that you're experiencing, then you'll notice that that fear follows you everywhere you go. And no matter what certifications you get, no matter what job title you have, you still don't feel like enough. And you'll bounce from peak to peak to peak and goal to goal to goal, going, where's the joy? Where's the fulfillment? I thought this would make me feel like I mattered.
Mhm.
When really, you've always been worthy. You're worthy right now. You'll always be worthy. And so I actually have an equation for everyone here on worth,
Oh,
self-worth,
great.
being enough. It's, write this down, friend. It is worth equals love over time.
Oh, I love that.
Worth equals love over time. That's what worth is. But what most people make the mistake of doing is they place that love on other people's shoulders. They say,
Mhm.
how I am responded to by my spouse, my kids, my boss, whoever it is, that dictates how worthy I am. And so on the days when you receive a lot of love, a lot of praise, you're like, woohoo, I'm worthy. And on the days when you don't, you're like, I am not. And
Mhm.
so it's this constant up and down chaotic roller coaster because we're so obsessed with the effects. And what I mean by that is, if we take a look at our lives in the areas where we're not happy, like our, let's say our career or marriage or money or parenting, whatever, if we take a look at the circumstances in our lives and we say, those things make me feel a certain way, what we're saying is, I am not in control of how I feel. We're saying I give away my power to circumstance. When really, and those things do not cause how you feel. Those things are the effect of how you've been feeling. And so if you take a look at, let's use the example of marriage. If your marriage is off, right? That is not something that causes you to feel a certain way. That is the effect of how you've been feeling. So if you obsess over the effects, the job, the marriage, the kids that aren't where you want it to be, and you obsess over the effects, then you forget the cause. And when you forget the cause, which is how you feel, you can't influence the effects. So you never change your life and you keep going down the same path. And so we have this equation, worth equals love over time. And we take a look at love as an effect, other people, when really we are the cause. So I want to change that equation to worth equals self-love over time.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
That can change everything. When you actively give yourself love,
Mhm.
you no longer worry that you're enough. And when you no longer worry that you're enough, you will put yourself in situations that will allow you to get promoted or get raises or get another job or whatever it is. Does that make sense before I keep going?
I love that. And honestly, I would say, I think this is defined, in my opinion, is you stop caring about what other people think about every single thing that you do. It's not that you stop caring about people, it's that their reaction to what you do changes, how it affects you, because you realize you're not on the same path as they're on.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start, I feel like it's an internal compass in a way. When you start honoring yourself versus making sure that everyone else around you feels that what you're doing is worthy. Oh my goodness, the greatest things happen. I see this with clients all the time where it's like they emit this glow about them, and it's because they just started loving themselves because they see that they're enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely love this.
It's that simple. I mean, if you think about it, one of the reasons why we don't put ourselves in situations to advance in our career is that same fear. It's because we're making up a meaning about what rejection is. And if you think about life, life is made up of two things. It's made up of events and the meaning you give to each event. That's your entire life. And so, for example, let's say that Emily and I are going into Jamba Juice because Jamba Juice sounds great right now. And I decide to open the door for Emily, and she's so grateful that I opened the door. Why? Is it because I opened the door? Or is it because of her interpretation of what that gesture means? Because I
Mhm.
could open the door for Emily and she could be like, I can get it myself, you chauvinistic pig. I don't need you. Right. But she would never do that. She's a lovely person, but the event never changed. It was the meaning to the event. So, what meaning are you giving putting yourself in a situation that will allow you to grow? What meaning are you giving rejection? What meaning are you giving a pay raise? Meaning, the quality of the meaning you give things equals the quality of your emotions. The quality of your emotions equals the quality of your life. And so we just need to change the meaning we're giving to what we face. You can do that with rejection. You can do that with everything. But think about it like this too. You will only put yourself in growth situations to the level in which you think you're worthy of. And so if you don't feel worthy on the inside, then you won't put yourself out there to receive more money. But when you feel worthy on the inside, you're like, heck yeah, I deserve a $30,000 pay raise. And you put yourself out there to be able to receive that. Plus, when you do receive that role, which you will, doesn't it cause you to show up differently? It causes you to call in the highest version of yourself to show up to that role because you're stepping up. You're growing. And if you're not growing, you feel like you're dying. But one of the things that holds people back so much from putting themselves in situations to get to the next level is attachment to an outcome. And what do I mean by that? That means I am my results in life. When you are attached to an outcome, you believe that you are your results. And so if you believe your results, then when things are going great, you feel great. When things are crappy, you feel crappy. We need to be detached, which means we're going to do everything we possibly can to get to that next level. And the outcome does not determine how I feel about myself. So detachment just means it's not that you should own nothing. It's that nothing should own you.
No, I
That's
absolutely
detachment.
love that. Say that one more time, because that was really freaking good.
Detachment is not that you should own nothing. It's that nothing should own you.
Oh, I love that.
That will change some lives if you allow it to. If you
And
allow it.
so let's say, because this is definitely something I hear from clients, they were just fired, but the culture that they were fired from was also really toxic. So they were let go. So that means they did not leave of their own volition. Could be for myriad reasons. But then also the environment that they had been a part of for 3 to 5 years was toxic. I call it like information hoarding. Nobody's sharing information. They're only telling you about the things that have gone wrong. There's no like, wow, you're really great at this. Thank you. There's no gratitude. There's none of that. So what I've noticed is when somebody comes out of an environment like that, where, by the way, this toxic environment also said, and we no longer want you. I look at it as a blessing, right? Because I don't think anything can grow in an environment like that. But if you were entering the job market with all of this on your shoulders, how do you change your thoughts to understand that you're incredibly valuable? Go.
Oh, that's so good. Such a beautiful question. So it comes back to the meaning. What's the meaning you're giving being fired? Is the meaning you're giving being fired that you failed? Is the meaning that you're giving being fired that you're not enough, you'll never perform? Or is the meaning you're giving being fired, heck yeah, now I have freedom? Like, what's the meaning you're choosing to give that event? Start there, because right there with a new meaning, you have completely different emotions about everything. And on top of that, one thing that I think is so common is that people expect negativity to not exist.
Oh,
And we're
yeah.
going to talk about this because this is something that, I have feelings on this. I used to go through my life pretending that everything was just peachy and just wonderful. That is called toxic positivity. It's going to your garden and saying, there are no weeds here, and refusing to pull the weeds. You're not going to have a beautiful garden if you don't pull some weeds. And so we need to realize that negativity is one of the greatest gifts you can ever receive. Because without negative, you wouldn't appreciate the positive. Without night, you wouldn't appreciate sunlight, right? So we need to realize that negativity holds a powerful, powerful place in our lives. It's contrast. And without that contrast and that resistance, we wouldn't appreciate all the beauty and the gifts. So we need negativity to create us. And so anytime there's a negative situation or a problem in someone's life, whether it's getting fired or anything, people don't want problems, but problems are just the gifts that we grow from. Problems are just the things that make us stronger. In fact, if you don't have problems, start begging for some, because the only people that don't have problems are dead. So problems are a sign of life. And so negativity is a sign of life. That's a sign that you see contrast in wanting something more. If you think about going to the gym, You lift weights and you push or pull against resistance to sculpt your muscles, right? Well, problems are just the resistance that you push or pull against to sculpt your character. That's all it is. And so we need to see these problems as a beautiful gift, getting fired as a gift, seeing it as just resistance that's causing us to see what could be.
Yeah.
And so without negative space in a photograph, it wouldn't pop. So my challenge to people here is look at being fired from the perspective of what meaning am I giving it? And without that negative situation, there is no way I would appreciate the positive situation that's coming.
I love that so much. When I became a second grade teacher during the pandemic, I'm not a second grade teacher. I have zero abilities in teaching. No one wants me to ever teach their child, including my own children. The very next school year, the school sent out a survey saying like, what qualities would you like in your child's teacher the very next year? And all I wrote was, not me. Like, I just don't want my kid to have me as a teacher. Put her back in school. But anyway, we had great learning opportunities. But my favorite, and I felt like it was so wonderful during the pandemic, was this video on seeds and how they grow and the life cycle of seeds. And it's this little cartoon, and they're walking you through, a seed needs moisture. So it needs water, it needs sunlight, and it needs some form of warmth to actually grow. And that's typically in sort of soil or things. Then they go into the best place for a seed to grow. And this was the aha, blow my mind moment. The best place for a seed to grow is when you think about animals. An animal sees an apple tree, right? And it eats the entire apple. It doesn't like eat part of it or cut it up or anything, right? It eats the whole thing. So where do you think that seed goes? It actually comes out in poop, which, by the way, is filled with moisture, warmth, and will be in the sun. So the best place for a seed to grow is literal crap. And I thought, oh my God, this is so true of everything that we look at in our lives. We think we need the right environment for, it's got to be like, I don't know, this perfect opportunity of, everything's got to look right and be exactly perfect. And actually, the best place to grow is a bunch of poop. So everything you just said just felt like that second grade.
Amazing. I love that. I love that so much. And so let's ask ourselves why we think that poop is a bad thing.
Right?
So why is being fired a bad thing? It's not. It's only a bad thing because you're choosing to make it bad. I have a belief that changed my life, that life is always happening for me and not to me. And if we think about any time suffering exists, because suffering is any negative emotional state that you feel over a period of time, suffering is what will prevent us from getting that new role. If we feel crappy, we're not going to want to put ourselves out there. And so I want to share my favorite quote of all time with you. Before I share that, we need to realize that expectations are the root of all suffering. If you ever feel bad about anything in life, it's because you expect that it should be different instead of appreciating how it is. That is the only reason you feel bad about something. And so my favorite quote of all time is, when you trade your expectations for appreciations, your whole life changes in an instant. It's from Tony Robbins. When you trade your expectations for appreciations, your whole life changes in an instant. And so if we take our expectation of not being fired, of being praised as an amazing employee, all those things, those expectations, and we release them and appreciate it, see it as happening for us, not to us, then all of a sudden we'll find a meaning that will empower us to act and move forward.
Right? Are you not so on fire for Brad? He has so many nuggets of wisdom. And this is exactly why I feel like all of us need this 5-day challenge that he is doing. And so I wanted to invite you to his free Success Accelerator 5-day mindset challenge. It starts on Monday, which is the 10th. to join, you'll see this link right here. It's also in the comments. So get yourself signed up at learn.emilyhawkins4u.com/mindset-matters. It matters very much. When you go over to there, you'll also catch another episode of Brad sharing on my podcast. I want to give you all the Brad love because he has personally helped me. He is somebody that is a light when things can seem dark. And I want you to have access to this man because he's changed my life. So I hope that you're having a great day. I hope to see you in the challenge. I would love it in the comments if you'd let me know that you got registered. If you want to private message me instead and let me know, that's also fine. But I cannot wait to see you over there.